the folks back from the breakout rooms.
Okay. Should we bring in the students too, or what do you think?
That's up to you. Let me know what you want me to do.
Okay, let's bring them back and see.
Hi, Khalid. Nice to see you. We're just finishing up our second breakout room, so folks are going to start to come back now.
Let's bring them in.
Okay.
Hi, Mary. Look how there's, hi, Grace. You know, they're all just like, oh. They get off camera. They're shy. Mary, are you there? Oh, you're walking to school. Where are you, Mary?
They're all muted.
Yeah, you can unmute yourself. Can't hear you, Mary. You're muted.
Hi, teacher. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear now, Mary. Where are you?
I'm on the way to classroom. I'm on the gate of the class, the third building. Soon.
Okay.
I'm running.
Oh, she's obviously feel like she's fine. Okay. Is everybody back from the breakouts? And I guess a message to my class, just make yourself comfortable and listen, learn, and we'll have more information for you. And welcome to our group. And for the group, know that they have been briefed on what we do every Thursday, and they're eager to see you as you are eager to see them. And you're meeting our undergraduate law students at the University of Yantai in Yantai, China. I'm very proud of these individuals, and there are about 96 of them. Two cohorts, yeah. Jackie's like, yeah, think about grading papers and all that. It's quite a lift, and it's an intensive. It goes for every day except Sunday in the evenings for about 3 hours and 40 minutes for the month of November. So if I look a little haggard, but welcome, they'll be filtering in, and Lori can get them in. Any comments on the breakout that just happened before we talk more about the law?
Greg, you're breaking up just a little bit.
Okay. All right.
That's better.
Any discussion on the breakout? Anybody like to?
If you would, please go ahead and unmute yourselves and pop in with ideas, comments from this last breakout. Don't be shy.
This is Rich speaking.
Hi, Rich.
We're talking about, I caught the word, what could you have done differently? And of course, the word, you had mentioned it earlier in our sessions, and of course she did on the video, the word system. You know, we look at it as an individual problem, but racism is individual to me, but looking at it as a system, which is really USA, America, worldwide, including the world. So my eyes have really opened where individually, even though I grew up in a community with blacks, played sports, educated with them. Some were actually very good students. One's cum laude, University of Michigan Law School. But looking at what could I have done differently? Well, I think I was selfish and I was blind to think that at the worldwide racism problem. And really, I guess I could fault myself of that, but then I guess I shouldn't say that I'm guilty because I think it's just education. I didn't know that it was such a worldwide situation here as a system.
It's a systemic.
Systemic. So anyway, that's my comment as far as racism and my upbringing.
Appreciate it. I really appreciate that.
I would remind anyone that would like to say something to unmute yourself before you, so that and then just go ahead and when there's an opening speak. I just wanted to mention in our group, I thought it was very interesting, and like one of the things that we talked about was how early all of this begins, and that we have to begin very, with 5-year-olds and 4-year-olds, even in preschool, that it's a lot more difficult to deal with racism when somebody is, say, middle-aged, and it's very important to reach folks when they're just little children.
Anyone else?
Actually, I wanted to add something to that, because the truth of the matter is that by the time they're 4 or 5 years old, they already have ingrained in them, because of the way that brains develop, you already have your preferences. So if you're not exposed to differences early, very, very early, from 0 to 3, you will develop those categories because that's what you live with. And so, by the time you get to those later developmental years, you're trying to undo damage.
Okay, very good, Jackie. Thank you. Socialize early.
Well, I had that our group kind of decided that we've all 3 of us lived in segregated communities, not by choice, but just that's the way it is. And another point came out that it's not only just blacks that we're talking about, which is the focus now in the protest, but the United States has not been kind to Chinese, Japanese, Native Americans, many other races besides just African Americans. So, you look at the mining industry, what they did with the Chinese people in the state of Oregon, it was horrible. So, those things we just haven't talked about before.
And Neil, that's an excellent point. What the Pacific Coast did to the Chinese was atrocious in the 19th century.
And also what we say we live in, we're not exposed to it, but we are, because the Hispanic community is a huge factor in all rural of Oregon, every place, and yet they're discriminated against too, in housing and other things, labor's wages.
Yep. Any other comments from the last breakout?
Well, in our group, Mom joined us, so that was great. And she went to college at Linfield College in McMinnville, Oregon. And she was given a paper, said, would you like to have a white roommate or a black roommate? And she grew up in a pretty much all white town.
In Washington.
In Washington. And so she put down white, and she got taken into the office and yelled at about that wasn't right at all. That was she right at all. So that was awful for her, because she hadn't been exposed to anybody, in her time. And so, I mean,
we're talking about a Hispanic.
Yeah.
We had a new couple at church in Dallas, and it was a white man and a woman that was tanned, and so I said to my friend, what do you think? What is she? What is she? Southeast Asian? What is she? And they said, we don't know. And we talked about it. And then it ended up that Nellie, the woman, invited me and my husband for dinner, and she served pork and rice. And I and I said to my friends, I said, well, I figured out what her nationality is. She's Southeast Asia because she served rice and pork, and ended up that she ended up my daughter's godmother, and my other daughter too. And we loved her. She was a full-blooded Mexican, but we didn't know what she was.
So that was interesting.
Yeah, we didn't know what a Mexican looked like.
Nope.
Because we weren't any around.
No,
Amazing.
it is. Mhm.
Okay, well, let's move this along. And I would ask that the visiting Chinese students, please turn on your cameras if you don't have them on. And we were talking about is why we invited the students in and how that's relates to developing.
Greg, we're losing you. We don't hear you. Sorry.
How about now?
No.
No.
Okay, that's better, but it's still very garbled.
Okay. I don't know if it's the storm coming in or what.
That's better.
All right.
Better.
A little louder. Maybe it's not going through. Let me know again. But we invited the students in racial it's an example of racial stamina, and that's the ability to confront racism, be comfortable discussing racism, and continuing learning about it. It's a lifelong process, right? And we also need to, as part of racial stamina, is learn to desegregate our lives. That's going to take stamina and intention to do that because we are segregated. And one part of that method is to bring in people that are different than we are into your circle and into your lives. And as Dr. D'Angelo said, not to serve you if it's a Black person, but to sit down and break bread with you. And we had this unique opportunity. This is a digital field trip, really, of these students to come here. You all in our group, Thursday group, are likely the largest group of Americans they've ever seen. And for you, this probably is the largest group of Chinese coming directly to you over the Great Wall to your home. And that's remarkable. And it's a great opportunity to kind of demonstrate the point of practicing inclusion and desegregating and exposing ourselves to people that are different than we are. Let me tell you just a couple things. One thing behind me, did you notice that I didn't leave the room? I put in on a new background. This is a picture I took last year at this time when I was in China. I had been asked to lecture to a group of scholars in the law school. They took me to dinner in this building, and this is in that room. That is a painting from Confucius. It's original Chinese calligraphy, and it reads from right to left. And I put that on here to welcome our guests, because what that means in Chinese is that peace and harmony are precious. Peace and harmony are precious. And when I leaned over to my colleague in China last year, I said, what is that? That's just a really nice looking print. And they said, they translated it for me. I said, that's what it means. That's the essence of it. And that is about 2,500 years old. It comes from the Book of Confucius. And keep in mind, America is 244 years. China is 3,000 years. They view racism much differently than we do. They have it, they see it, they know it, but it's more ethnic. They have 50-some ethnic groups in China. But they are ancient. They have one time zone. They got one language, one leader, one government. And they've got about 2.5 billion people in their country. It's huge, huge. And I would submit to you that they're misunderstood from the rhetoric that you hear on the Western side. And they hear, you know, they're very curious about us, and as we are really kind of curious about them. So peace and harmony is precious. And China is one of the 4 ancient civilizations in the world. And it's about 1600 BC when their land started. So their traditions go way deep, and it's very, very interesting. I asked one of them about racism, and this is the answer I got. Domestically speaking, China has 54 ethnic groups in total. The biggest difference on racial issues between China and the US is that we have completely different histories and races and narratives. Given our long history of colonization and aggression by the foreign devils, starting from the first Opium War in 1840, we now subconsciously take non-Asian races as some sort of enemy. Although through the history, Chinese land has been conquered by non-Han people, such as Mongolians and Manchu people, their descendants and Han people have been intermarrying for centuries so that there isn't much difference on appearance. I would say that even regional discriminations are now much more deeper than racial ones. I may be politically incorrect to say this in the West, but the most prominent hate or bias relating to race is directly pointed at the Black person living in coastal areas such as Guangzhou province, because most have come from the least developed countries in Africa, and they cause troubles in local areas like theft and harassment, but no guns because guns are strictly banned in China. So a much more simplified answer to your question, Chinese people almost subconsciously believe that we are overall one ethnic entity. And that's the only situation where the word racism may occur is when other non-Chinese races are involved. Interesting perspective. Interesting perspective. This class that's visiting, there are again almost 100 of them. They're Yantai University, which is up in the northeast. It's a coastal city, Shandong province. They are law students, 3rd year. They all want to be lawyers, judges, prosecutors, somewhere in the legal arena, or teachers. And we are connected. There is a intergovernmental agreement between Western Oregon University and Oregon with Yantai Law School, and we have this exchange. They have an option to attend their senior year in the United States at Western Oregon and get a double degree, a double major. So we're teaching them the requirements for that double major. They'd have law and they would have criminal justice. Okay, so that's a little bit about them, and it's a great educational partnership.
Greg, I wonder if I could say something too. My best friend is Chinese, and and he's been my friend for about 15 years. One of the things that's been interesting, and just as we might be one of the larger groups of Americans that you folks have met, you might be one of the larger groups of Chinese citizens that we've met. And one of the things about my friend Bruce is that he's taught me a lot about the culture of China. He's second generation. And his mom, who came here many, many years ago, died last winter. And I was able to officiate at her funeral. And after the funeral, his family had a luncheon, and so I was able to be there with them and to grieve with them. But one of the things that Bruce has taught me that he has picked up, and he's second generation, so he was born here, but are some of the wonderful customs that Greg referred to in China. And like he was talking about the print behind him, if you look behind me, you'll see a red rooster. Does that have any significance in China? How about New Year's? The year of the rooster. I happen to be a dragon. And so one of the things that he's brought to me is some of the fun things that are important in Chinese or in China that his family has carried over here. And so every year at the time of the Chinese New Year, I can always expect to hear from my friend wishing me a happy new year in Chinese. And so I think one of the great things about tonight is that we can learn from each other and we can get to know each other. And last week when we mentioned that you folks would be joining us tonight and next week, there were a lot of smiles and people were very happy because you were coming and we could meet you. And so we're very, very happy to have you here.
Jackie.
I kind of want to, I really appreciate your sharing, Father Fred, but I want to caution us about how we think about learning about other cultures. And I always put it in the framework of a family. If you look at children, you may have 3 different children from the exact same family, and they're unique individuals. So when you meet a Chinese person, you're meeting that person in their context. You're not meeting the Chinese culture. You're not meeting, if you meet an African American, you're going to meet me. If you meet me, I don't speak for all African Americans. I only speak for myself. My brothers and my sisters are very different from me. So if you meet them, you're going to meet them, and their perspectives are very different than mine. And so I would caution us not to think that we've met the culture when we meet one. We meet individuals from a culture.
And they're all unique.
And they're all unique.
And they all have their gifts and talents and a few warts like I do, I suppose. So thank you, Jackie. Does anybody from the class like to say anything to our Thursday conversation group? If everyone could turn their cameras on for this next phase, for this next portion, that would be great. That would be great. If you could turn your cameras on, that would be great. Tomorrow they have a final exam in my class. I don't know how worried they are. I'm not worried because they knocked it out of the park last week for the midterm. Pretty condensed when you take a midterm in a week and you take a final the next week. But they're on their game. All right. I think does anybody want to say anything to them, to the students?
Shannon?
Yes, I'm thinking if they're going to be in the area, going to Western, they're going to need a place to have a Thanksgiving dinner and learn what American Thanksgiving dinner is. I'm offering a Thanksgiving dinner to, if we're past the coronavirus, I'd very much love to host a couple of the students to come to our home.
How about 90?
I can feed up to 8 or 10 at a time, but I don't think I can do 90.
Yeah, we'd love to have that opportunity.
Maybe in November of 2021, travel will be possible again. We don't know.
Well,
yes, right.
You can see right now, and they are in a classroom. This was when I last taught them in the summer. They were at home. They were in their dorms or at home, and but the virus has made strides in it there in their country and in this province where they are together. So, and they're opening back up, but the rest of the world is not the case yet. So, but that's a great invitation. I appreciate that very much. Anybody else have any comment or question to these students?
Greg, what year are these students?
What,
Yeah, the first year, second, third, or fourth?
they are third year entry law.
So they're in the law program, I guess, already?
Yes, yes. They start right, all law students with dreams and visions of practicing some form of law or teaching.
Does anybody want to come to the United States to practice US law? From the group?
Anybody? I see some smiles like,
I see some smiles too.
Okay, so we'd love to have a little diversity and your insight if you were to do that later on
yes.
in about 2, 3, 4, 5 years.
Leon, are you there? Or Mary? They're self-conscious about their English. They speak English, read English, and they can write English, but they're very self-conscious about it.
They're studying very hard. I could tell that everybody's so engrossed in their studies right now.
Yes.
Yep. I don't know if
Good
Mary's.
luck, guys. Good luck with everything.
What I was, real quick. Yeah, that's all over.
We are about 5 minutes from the end, so we probably want to wrap some things up.
Here's what I would suggest we do. We were going to do this in a breakout, but when we have our guest here, and if you could get on camera, that would be great. But you've become part of our community here, and we are part of your community there. And this is a unique opportunity for us to learn. And I'm going to, instead of putting it into a breakout, I'm just going to read the quote, and I want you to actually scroll through the screen. Take a look at yourself. Take a look at other people. Take a look at this beauty that's before you, the peace and harmony that's so precious, and being able to do this. As I read this quote, and think about what the quote means and the work that needs to be done. Dr. Martin Luther King. People fail to get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. That resonates with April, I can see. She's like, oh, he called my name.
Hi, excuse me. Hello, Professor. Can you hear me? I'm Mary. Sorry, so sorry. My internet is so poor, so I use my classmates' Zoom meeting. Sorry.
Oh, there you are. So do you want to come to America and practice law?
Maybe.
Maybe. You have an invitation from Kahoot.
Just now I know the problem of rhythm in America. So thank you for you all to sharing the problem of rhythm in America. Nice to meet you all. So if you have a chance, welcome to Shandong Province. Welcome to Yantai University.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We would love to come to your province sometime.
You would love it. It's so nice there. I so miss the travel and I so miss being there. I just, it's cold this time of year, but they will treat you so nice, and they're just wonderful, and the food is excellent in Shandong province.
Yes, students, your professor Greg talks about you all the time, and he says how much he misses seeing you in person.
Yeah, I do.
We're really, really pleased with us tonight.
So we've got about a minute left, and let me just tell the students that as we close here, we'll go back to our other Zoom room, and then I'm going to give you instructions on the final exam. We'll do a roll call, and we'll answer questions and make sure you're ready for the final tomorrow. Okay? That sounds.
Didn't you say that everybody was going to get an A before they joined?
Yes, they all start with an A, and then it depends on what you do.
Okay.
Good
Everybody
one,
gets
David.
A's.
Good
Yeah.
one.
You're welcome.
But I am so proud of you all. I'm proud of everybody, our Thursday night group and this has just been a great opportunity. And it's a first step in practicing stamina and being desegregated, looking at others. And then, let's think about, and everybody is an individual. We all get our gifts and talents. If the students could wave goodbye.
Like,
You.
And thank you, Thursday conversation participants. Thank you for being here tonight. We'll see you next week.
And I'll
Thank
see
you,
you
everyone.
in about 15 minutes. So go ahead and get in the room and I'll be right there. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
bye-bye.
Bye. Okay.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Good night, Erica. Thank you.
See you next week.
Be in the room.
Oh, look at these messages. They're all saying goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Nice.
Bye, Lisa. There's Adele. He's the most. There's Leon.
Thanks for joining us, David.
Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in about 10 minutes in the classroom. Probably should have just had them all in here, kept them here and finished up here.
You could have very easily. If you want to do that next week, you can, Greg.
So do you have the ability to just clear the?
Yep.
Okay. We'll see you all in the other room. Bye-bye. There's Calmer. He's not in the class. Calmer. 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 You may have the sound down.
Yeah.
Kristen's in the classroom. Multitasking. Calmer somewhere else though.